Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. My name is Mace. I'm coming to you from a small town in Western Canada. I'll just give my perspective on this particular video. Today we're looking into the Hillsborough Disaster, how it happened in 1989. I'm not familiar with this disaster. Let's get into it and then we'll talk about it at the end. Hope everyone's doing amazing. You can leave comments down below and all that good jazz. Let's go.
It was like any build-up to a big game.
Hillsborough Conquest.
At 2:24, Liverpool fans are seen making the journey by foot from the station to the stadium. Kickoffs in half an hour, and people are tightly packed at the turnstile entrance to the Lettings Lane terrace.
Tightly packed is right. Guessing this is going to be a crowd planning disaster. Let's continue.
CCTV footage, which was being monitored.
You can already tell, like, way too many people in this space, and the way that they're being brought through.
Monitored by police that day, shows how the crowd outside was growing by the minute. Inside, the two centre pens of the terrace were packed, but people were in good spirits.
That freaks me out.
At 2:40, the first real sign that things were going badly wrong, with a young boy lifted clear from the crush.
Yeah, people can get crushed really easily. With that mass of humans.
Superintendent Roger Marshall, who was a police officer in charge outside the ground, is clearly worried. He later said he feared fatalities could occur. Inside, everyone was heading to the jammed centre pens, despite there being plenty of room in the pens at either end of the terrace. 2:52, with the crowds building and kick-off drawing closer, the police made the decision to open the exit gate. Over the course of 5 minutes, 2,000 fans streamed through, with most of them heading straight to the centre pens.
And the match is on with Liverpool in red playing from...
Just a couple of minutes into the game,
Oh,
it became clear something was wrong behind the Liverpool goal. It seems initially police thought it was a pitch invasion. But soon people were collapsing on both sides of the fence. At 3:06, police ordered the players off the pitch. But it still seemed they hadn't grasped the scale of the tragedy unfolding before their eyes. It wasn't until 3:12 that the first medic, a St John's ambulance volunteer, climbed over the fence onto the terrace. By then, people had already died or were dying. At the back and front of the pen, supporters were trampled in the desperation. Others tried to get out however they could. Then, at 3:16, the first ambulance arrived pitchside. But that was already too late for 96 fans.
96. Holy. That's absolutely tragic. I do feel like I've heard of this disaster before, now that I think about it. But 96 people. Damn. So I hope there was some serious and effective outcomes from the inquest into this. This is not a new phenomenon, this kind of disaster happening with mass crowds and crowding. I always remember my dad telling me to avoid, getting yourself into a situation like that where there's a huge crowd, because you can't escape if you're in the midst of that. And we've seen, was it the one in Tokyo, which was absolutely horrific, and maybe not Tokyo, but there was one in a large Asian city, I remember, and there might have even been hundreds dead in that case. But I do remember that one, and people were gathering for an event where these people are coming in there to have fun. They're coming in there to have the night of their lives, and then it turns to absolute horror and tragedy. Because why? Is it solely on the organizers of the event? Probably. They need to have better planning when you're planning events. They're having this level of spectators arriving. You need to have proper plans in place to keep people safe. At the end of the day, I think it is on the organizers of that event, people who run the stadium or whatever the venue is for these type of huge events. The Travis Scott concerts a couple years ago, those were so tragic as well, and really sad. The level of panic that you saw throughout the crowds, and how that one was really kind of macabre and dark, because you saw the performer just kind of continuing on the show, and there's people dancing and people having fun, but there's also people in the fray getting crushed by the massive weight of all of these human bodies. So very, very horrifying. And I'm a pretty claustrophobic person, so that's not a situation I would like to be in, and one I tend to avoid. Biggest crowds I've been at is probably at like BC Place, or the Rogers Place, I think it's called, in Toronto. And we were seeing a concert. I think they have about 50,000 there, something like that. But with all the different gate entries, it's all very organized. So this type of sporting event, which was in 1989, I am curious what the conclusions were of the inquest and who was found at fault. And just, I feel horrible. All of these families, all of these moms, sisters, husbands, brothers, fathers, daughters, lost for, unfortunately, something that's avoidable. So hopefully the inquest and the investigations were fruitful in preventing these things from happening in future. All right, let me know your thoughts on it. We'll see you soon.